I love printing. I love printing. I love it. I love printing. Hey everybody, want to welcome you back to another session of Printer to Printer on What They Think with me, Warren Werbitt, also known as the Print Whisperer, hook, line, and thinker, but we'll talk about that at a later time. Today we have a guest who comes far away. Well, not really. Originally came far away, but that was in Canada on the West Coast. And we have Garry Gunter from, first of all, I got to tell you, the name is amazing. It's Mitchell since 1928. Awesome name.
Thank you.
You know what? Before we get into questions, why don't you tell us a little bit about Mitchell since 1928, but really tell us first about the name today.
Right. Well, thanks. Hey, thank you for having us. I say us because, I am part of a 81-man team here at Mitchell Press since 1928. And we've been using this moniker for a little while now because, we've gone by the term Mitchell Press for many years, and we've been going since 1928, hence the 1928. And today we comprise three parts of our company. So we've got Mitchell Press, which is, high-speed lithography. That's kind of how we see ourselves with our web press. We have Mitchell Digital, which is obviously digital and web development, digital printing and web development. And then we have a trade bindery called Pacific Bindery, which we also run. So, Mitchell since 1928 is a great way to, underscore and create an umbrella for the three different companies that we run. And we think of ourselves today more as a communications company than a print company, right? Because, we work with so many marketers. We work with designers, we work with publishers, we work with agencies, and we're finding ourselves, traversing all these different verticals of communication. And, we are surprisingly sprightly for a 93-year-old company. So, you don't get to become 93 years old if you aren't continually looking at what's new and what's coming. So that's us today. A communications company.
Cool. So two things. I love the name, and it works well today because in print, people should be taking the word press and printing out of their names. When you just said that you consider yourself a communication company, like I kind of got goosebumps because I've been saying that. I used to refer to my old company and myself as not printing, but communication specialists because we're communicating in so many different ways these days and everything is integrated. Yes. And I think we need to get more of our industry, right, to speak about the communication. I think a lot of companies need to get the old metal off the website because I don't think there's one customer that actually cares what equipment you have these days.
It's bizarre, right? Because as printers, we used to talk so much about the speeds, the feeds, brag about what we've got on the floor, and how many people it takes to run it, and and later on in years, how few people it takes to run it. But really, honestly, at the end of the day, it's about servicing our clients, making sure they're super happy, producing a product that we're very proud of, and making sure that, our team of employees and staff are happy. We've got a huge responsibility to that team. And, it's the clients that are important and our team's important because we don't produce the quality of work without a super hooked up team, right? And we've got to look after our employees. That's important.
You got to look after everyone. You look after the employees, the customers. Maybe for you it's a little different. I remember towards the end of me being in the print company, I was always a promoter of top line paper. Sappy paper was my number one.
Right.
Because first of all, I keep saying it, and if they're listening, I'm not sucking up to you because I don't buy paper anymore, but Sappy by far was the best company promoting their own paper and all of the techniques that you can do with it and the different papers, right? And agencies and people would request certain brands. In the last few years, what I've noticed is some of the agencies still spec paper, thank God, but most people ordering print today say 160M or 80-pound coated or text. Right? So now everybody's going back to buying paper, I won't mention names, at 55 cents a pound, which is not even the whitest of paper, which doesn't give you the best image when you've spent all that money on creative design. Right? But selfishly as a printer, don't you want to buy paper at $1 a pound and mark it up instead of 50 cents?
Yeah. Isn't it crazy though to think that there's still that time, or there's still that that concept that, you know, you spend all of this time in the design phase and then you just nonchalantly throw it at the printer to make shit happen, right?
Okay.
And you know, that still goes on. And the irony is, you know, a few years back we were working on a renovation on our house, and we got in a woman to do some design. She did phenomenal work. But you know what? I realized it's not just the print industry that has the same problem. It's the building industry too. She did a great design, and then we spent a lot of time on design, spent a lot of budget on design, and then suddenly it's flipped over to the builder, right? So, you know, the nice thing in that is realizing that, you know, we're not the only industry that faces this problem. It's the same everywhere, right? There's a bit of solace in that.
Every industry has its own same minutia stuff, right? That's like really not good. We think we are the only ones. All designers everywhere are amazing, but they don't design usually with budgets.
True.
I mean,
because otherwise at some point it curtails the creative flow. So that's a challenge, right? So it's kind of trying to figure that piece out, and that's hard. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned paper though, Warren, because, you know, paper right now, I'm sure you've been talking to other folks, it's a gong show out there, right? I mean, allocations everywhere. You know, the worst part is that to a certain degree, you know, with the paper companies, you know, with the situation we went through COVID, they had to find another way to make sure that they stayed afloat, right? Packaging's coming along, it's growing, people are throwing money at it. So reconfiguring mills to be able to produce more packaging material is great. The challenge though is that you flip it back, and as we're coming out of COVID and getting busier, and especially with the US coming back online pretty strong, we don't have that capacity anymore. And so, you know, how do we deal with that? And so, you know, once again, working with designers and working with, you know, paper companies to try and figure out, you know, what is the next step? When do we open up more capacity? You know, are we getting the message out to all of our clients to make sure that they're aware of these constraints? Because at some point at the moment, within the next 2-3 months, it will really get down to crunch time where whoever has the paper will print the job. It'll be that simple.
I think we as an industry don't do enough to promote to the end user as an industry what's going on. Right?
Oh, 100%.
Because I say that even amongst, when I look at competitors, I've always had some good competitors who were involved, and you've got a couple of them in Vancouver who
we got a great industry. Yeah, we're very lucky. Yeah.
By the way, if I could do it again, I want to do it in Vancouver, and I'd work for all three of you. I work for all three of you because you're all you, and you know what I'm talking about, but you're all unique and you're all different, and you could all be together. It's the craziest thing. But it's the so the good printers know what's involved. We invest in equipment. We have to keep things going, and you have to earn money in order to keep going. And then we have the others who aren't so educated or smart, who live by the old system of paper times 3 gives you price.
Well, they live for today, right? And unfortunately, you've got a plan for tomorrow. And so, in fact, we had a meeting just on Monday this week with a big potential client, and we're talking about the fact that, you know, our pricing is kind of what our pricing is. I'd love to win the business, but, you know, it's not always that simple. It's not about price. It's about, you know, the fact that we shouldn't all be embarrassed about the fact that we have to make money. These are businesses that we run, and we have to make money to invest in the future. And I want to get to 100 years. I'm sure as hell not going to let that fall apart on my watch. So, you know, we've got another 7 years to go, and, you know, we have to make money to reinvest and keep ourselves moving. Otherwise, we couldn't do some of the Mitchell digital stuff that we do, right? On web development and digital printing. We wouldn't have the money to invest in that. We wouldn't have money to invest in our bindery that we bought, right? So those sort of things don't happen.
And it's not like investments in this industry are getting less expensive.
No.
Right? Automation, technology, speed. Although, you know, a message I want to put out to the industry now is, and I was just talking to some people out of the industry the other day who are involved in different business. One company last year, sales were through the roof because of COVID. And now he's telling me it's evening out to where it was pre-COVID, which was good for them. He goes, but the price of a shipping container used to be $7,000, and now it's 15 to 25 grand, right? And he said, my customers are accepting the increases. The retailers are accepting the increases. Stuff's going on the shelf. Sales have slowed down a little because of perhaps the increase. The retailers buy from him and pick up their own goods overseas. they can't get it over here because there's not enough containers. But what I'm getting at is our industry right now is the time to make the change and bring the pricing up to the level that it should be so that we could make money to reinvest.
Yes.
I'm noticing in conversations with people, friends, other business, everyone is accepting the increases to a degree because they're across the board in everything. So when I look around, I don't know why some people in our industry aren't taking advantage, I don't like taking advantage, it makes it sound greedy. Why they aren't adjusting the pricing to where it should be, where they could actually finally turn some dollars.
Well, and you make a good point there, because it's not about taking advantage. It's about making sure that, you are covered too as a business. When we buy stuff off Amazon, we receive it at a certain price that we paid for, right? So we paid for it, we get it. Unfortunately, right now in the industry, we're seeing some of these situations where we're buying something and we're receiving it at a different price. We actually bought it in good faith at one price and we're receiving and paying for it in another. That's kind of unacceptable. And the industry will let it slide and push it out that way for now. But to your point earlier, we were talking about karma, good and bad, right? You know what they say, karma's a bitch, right? It all goes around. So things will even themselves out. But you're right. If we get an increase on paper, we have to pass it on. And I'm not here to try and, if I get a 10% increase, and trust me, they're up there, I'm not going to go to my client and say, oh yeah, it was 12%. I'm fully transparent. We show the increased letters. We say, okay, it's 10%, it's 10%. That's what it is, right? I'm not here to gouge people. I'm here to make sure we make our money.
Right, but this is the other problem I think some companies make when they get scared and nervous. Oh, 10% increase. I'm like, yo, it's not 10% on the total print job. It's 10% on the paper.
Yeah. Education is important,
right? And we're lacking some of that. So, okay, enough with that stuff. So tell me about some of the employees. Tell me about the team. Tell me what makes you guys shake, move, and groove.
Yeah, so we've got a unique team in the sense that we've got. In fact, we just celebrated 3 employees that hit 40 years with us. One's 43 years, one's 41 years, one's 45, I think it was. So yeah, so we're a unique company that way, right? I mean, I guess 1928, right? It says it all. So I don't know how many other companies. I actually should probably look it up. It's probably a good thing to look at for marketing side of things. But how many other companies have that level of employment? And it's kind of ironic because we were talking about this with the team and saying that 40 years is impressive, and we think of it as impressive for us. But these poor guys put up with us for 40 years, right? 40 years plus, and hopefully that shows that we're doing something right. And hopefully that shows that people are happy and enjoying their job, which is kind of interesting because I do worry. Besides paper and EFI, that's a whole separate meeting, by the way. I do worry about what happens with young blood coming into our industry, right? So it's great that we've got these folks that have been with us for so long. They do a phenomenal job. As you can imagine, their skill set is immense, right? And we're in the lucky. In Pacific Bindery,
they were actually craftspeople. Sorry to cut you off.
Totally.
They were
totally
handmade.
It's in their blood. It's in their blood, right? And so, like I was going to say, in Pacific Bindery, in that side of our business, that's huge, right? You don't get that experience by just coming out of school. It takes time. So for us, our next big push really is to try and, imbibe this sense of what we can do and the talent from those guys into younger employees. And so trying to drive through the next layer of invested kids that want to be in this industry, because let's face it, I mean, it doesn't always transpose out there to looking like the sexiest industry, right? Unfortunately, these youngsters, they go online and make money just by going on YouTube. My son says to me at one stage, oh yeah, so we're sitting at the dinner table, he says, yeah, so I'm going to go on YouTube and my buddy Owen and myself, we're going to do this and we're going to make some money. And my wife's opposite me and she's rolling her eyes and she's like, oh my God, this is just like a disaster, right? Of course, now we fast forward a few years and he wants to become a heavy duty mechanic. So that's kind of cool. But at the time I said to her, you got to just roll with it because times have changed, right? Everything's different.
So I'll tell you a quick funny story. So my kid, a bunch of years ago, he was because they all get into the buying the running shoes, the selling the running shoes. And
that's it, yeah.
So I remember one day he's doing something. He's going down to a shoe fair with a couple friends. And I go pick them up after. And I dropped them off and they got home. When they got home, he put a box on the kitchen table and I said, oh, what'd you buy? Because he traded in some running shoes and he bought a pair of, he's a size 10, okay? He bought a pair of size 8 Gucci boots, high boots, all scuffed up, $80. And I look at him and I say in front of his friends, I start ripping him, right? Like, what are you kidding me? Whatever. I look at his friends. I say to his friend, I go, Stav, I go, what do you think? He goes, I'm not getting involved in this conversation. I said, what would your father say? Your father would say that we're idiots, right? And I have a whole thing with him. And I said, who are you going to sell the shoes to? He goes, I'm going to sell the shoes. I said, how much are you going to sell the shoes for? He says, I'm going to sell them for $140. I said, if you sell those shoes for $140, I'm going to give you $140, right? And you have X amount of time. Well, sure enough, he sold the shoes for $140. He got paid in quarters, by the way, because they're all young, but he sold the shoes for $140. I had to pony up $140. And you know what he was like? I told you. From that day forward, I realized, watch what I say, because they do know things that we don't know, right?
So, the world's changing, right? And we've got to adapt with it. And I think that's where, us as print companies need to understand that and find ways to get these youngsters in and enjoy what they do, right?
So on that note, what I've been thinking of for a while, and I'm gonna use the Print Whisper to help me promote print, but we don't promote print for the sexy industry that it is, because the new presses, they're pretty sexy. When you're standing at the front of a 40-inch press and you've got the screen and the cameras and you're looking at everything move, you're playing a video game. And they're not getting their hands dirty the same way that they used to.
It's a very different environment than it used to be, right?
Pre-press, folding, hit a button and 20 different signatures, automatic. So we have large formats, a panic, right? You go around, you see the stuff that you made. So we need to get some of the younger people in our industry, when I say younger, 40, 50, 60, to start thinking to adapt the marketing to the young people, that it is a sexy industry.
It is. It's hugely satisfying. I mean, I'm a photolithographer by trade, right? So we all did our trades when we were younger, I guess. The reason why I got into it was I spent a day in a pre-press shop, and I was blown away by, oh my God, you put this powder on and you expose something and suddenly this image kind of arrives and you print with dots. I had no idea. I was clueless to that. And that amazed me. And basically, I guess you can thank Chromalin for me getting into the industry, right? Because that was the part that was the aha moment. And then I loved putting film together. And
also expensive for Chromalin.
Yeah, man, we would take a day to get a page done, right? Because it was really complicated, all this brushing and burnouts. And so I mean, a lot of the trade itself, the craftsman side of it, I wouldn't say it's gone, it's changed. But you still need that knowledge base that you learned as a craft within the trade to be able to truly differentiate yourself when you're on press or when you're in the bindery or when you're doing pre-press, right? There's a deeper knowledge that is what sets you apart, I think, ultimately.
Sure. So one of the things I used to do was we had a vocational school in Montreal that had a printing course, and once or twice a year, and I was speaking with the person in charge, but I would bring the whole class over to the plant and break them into 3 groups and walk them on the planks of the press while it's running, so you feel the vibration, right?
Yep.
And then at the end, I would give all of them a folder and say, if any of your parents buy print, could you please give this to them? Right? So try to mix it in and do it up. But I think it's also important that we try to reach out to some of the schools for vocational day, work day, career day, call it what you want. Because even when I look at my son, who's now graduated and he's got 2 degrees and he's still going to think about what he's doing, I think we need all the help they can get early on to give them options.
Right? I agree. And you say options. So that's what my son's just graduated grade 12. And, I kept on at him all the way through grade 12. I think I drove him nuts, but it's about having options, and I think that's what we have to remind the younger kids. Some people are very focused. They come out, they know what they want to do. I want to go and study law and become a lawyer. I want to become a doctor and I want to become a doctor.
Those people
and then there's other folks. Yeah, exactly. And then for most people, I keep saying to Ethan that do these subjects, make sure you keep these subjects done. Yes, oh, I don't like math, get your math done. Like math's important. Like, you know, if I go back and I remember I hated math in school and I sucked at math, right? And but the worst part was I guess because I had one bad year, I landed up in the slower
I was going to
class for
say
math.
attitude, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then I landed up with this one teacher that just blew my mind, and suddenly it was like a eureka moment, and I had it, right? So once again, it's the people you meet, it's the teachers, it's the people that can help you. But I said to him, just make sure you got all of this, because then you have more options, because now you can do multiple different things and you can make a change.
The other thing is most of the classes that you force yourself to take, you never go back and use for anything anyways, but at least you have them and that's all they're looking for to be done. All right. So, okay. So last little section, because time goes
Actually
fast when you're having good conversation. What do you guys do to promote your company within your markets?
So, what we did and was pretty successful, we had a supplier showcase. We called it a supplier showcase. And I think it was, must have been 3 years back now. Obviously with COVID, we couldn't do it again, right? You can't have a vast amount of people come and visit you, but we are trying to set ourselves up and plan for it to be February the 22nd, 22, right? Mm-hmm. So all the twos, because, that's just the way our CEO, Dan, works, right? He's got this good way of looking at things that way. So, that's our next supplier showcase. We will invite people to come and join us. We'll have clients, we'll have suppliers help us and work with us. And when I say suppliers, I mean, I do believe in partnerships in that respect, because, these folks you work with, you can be so successful only if they are successful too, right? It kind of works that way.
I just want to point out one thing or say one thing. I'm always a believer that we have to act the way we preach, and talk to our customers about being our partners.
Yeah.
And you're talking the same thing. You're talking the same thing about our suppliers, and it's so true.
Yeah, because a healthy supplier is a healthy us too, right? So we've all got it. We're all in this together. So there are times where we'll bicker and fight with each other, but that's like a friendship, right? Same thing. But so we're going to have the supplier showcase come up again, which is awesome. Not only does it help us and showcase our facility and what we can do, but hopefully it showcases the strength and the power of the partnerships we have with our supplier relationships. And it gives our supplier relationships the opportunity to actually showcase their work to other people that they may not have had a chance to, right? Try and create that healthy environment. And then, other things we do, to your point, we work strongly with BCIT. We have tours over here. There's another young college that's just opened up. We've got a tour of them coming through, trying to get out there and just promote our industry. We've got a really strong industry here in BC, right? We've got some great folks that keep each other on our toes, and we have great respect for each other. We admire each other, and we work together. If one can't do something and we need to help, we need to print something for somebody else, we do that, right?
Previous interview I did with Nikos.
Yeah.
I mean, he talked about how when their building burnt to the ground, they went out and everybody around them was happy to help them out, because you guys you're competing, but you're not competing. Yeah.
Well, it's that whole man down, right?
Right.
Go and help them up. Let's get them back, right? Because we also appreciate that healthy competition is important. They help spur us and drive us on to keep being creative. So George and Nico are awesome. Richard's fantastic too. Hemlock. In fact, actually, Dan phoned. We just got the latest sustainability report back out from Canopy, and we moved up one rung, and Hemlock's still there at number one. We're like, damn, right? Damn, we didn't do enough. And so he phones Richard and says, "Hey, well done, Richard. That's awesome. We're coming for you, right?" And we joke and we laugh about it. But once again, strong environmental stewardship out here in BC. Strong, and once again, I think goes back to the Creo days, I guess, right? It leans back to that. There was a lot of technology development here in BC and Burnaby, and it's kind of grown from there, right?
Yeah, it's actually amazing what that comes out of Vancouver, being that it's so far, because really you got Toronto, which is the center of Canada, and lots of people.
Oh, the center of the universe. Let's face it, right? We get it.
Sure, whatever they say. But honestly, like quality and award wise, you have some of the best printers who care the most about our industry. And both those companies, and I don't know you guys well enough, but I'm going to go along the same pretext, but They're there to promote the industry, to take pride in the industry, and not to sell the industry short. And that's what I think. I think you guys do that too.
I think we all have a lot of passion for print, right? And we like the smell of ink on paper. We realize that, that smell might change, but, just like, the automotive industry, right? We still drive cars. Okay, they might be electric now instead of petrol, right? But, bottom line is that, our industry is changing. We've got to adapt with it. And if we're so passionate about it, we'll find ways to make it be successful and continue to be successful.
So first, I want to thank you for taking the time. I know it took us a little bit of a time to get this, but awesome conversation. Really love the way you're thinking and what you're doing. I'm always around if you want to catch up on something else. That's great. To everybody listening, I thank you again for listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm trying to get 1,000, and it's going a little slower than I thought. Do watch out for the Print Whisper. That's coming out real soon. Keep buying print, keep selling print, charge for your print. Now's the time to get your price back. To everybody out there, Warren Werbitt for what they think. I love print.